Hello, everybody. My name is Chris Bernotas, and I am the director of Alfred Music Instrumental Publications. And I'm glad to be here to talk through the Sound Innovations curriculum for band with you today. I'm going to give you a high-level overview of all the products that are in this curriculum, and there are a lot of them. So I'm probably going to talk fast. I'm also from New Jersey, so that's also why I'm going to talk fast. You're also going to see me maybe looking up because I have a screen over there that I'm going to probably be looking at, which is the screen that you're looking at, but mine is above my laptop. So just so you know where I'm looking. But as you can see from these first couple of slides, there are a large number of books, and these are all that I'm going to talk through. And really, the power of these slides is to show you how much there are that is included in this. The other thing is, I love that these are designated by color because I don't know about you, but a lot of times we would just refer to the books by their color. Everybody take out the blue book. Everybody take out the green book. So you can see this wide array of colors. We're kind of running out of colors, but there are a lot more books still to come in this series. So we'll create our own colors. So the very first book, the first thing here is why sound innovations and understanding that how did this thing come about? This book, this method, actually all the methods, I'm focusing on band, but you can see concert band, string orchestra, percussion, guitar, all of them were kind of built the same way with influence and input from teachers, kind of collecting data from more than 2,000 teachers about what do you like about a method, what do you dislike about a method, and then kind of coming up with this book, which is kind of a mashup of all the things, all the pros, and trying to deal with all the cons. So book one, I want to highlight this. This is really important because you may have Make Music Cloud and you may not. So if you do have Make Music Cloud, that's awesome. Even if you didn't, it's important to know that all of book one is included in Make Music Cloud for free. So it's all part of there. So you can log in and get to it and practice with it and use it with your classes. And if you're in Make Music Cloud, it's so much more beneficial to the program as a whole, but we'll talk about that later on. But definitely get yourself locked into this. Your kids are going to love it and they'll practice more. And that's kind of what we want is for kids to practice. The more they practice, the quicker they're going to excel and get to higher musical levels of achievement. All right, so let's talk about book one. One of the key things that people had mentioned about all the book ones was too many colors, too many graphics. It can be very distracting. So the Sound Innovations author team took a very uncluttered approach. All of the books, no matter what level and no matter what the content is, they're all clean and clear and uncluttered. Now you notice the color, blue. Blue is very important. Anything that's in book one is blue. There's only one color, so it's not going to be too distracting, and it's going to be able to be focused on important things. And I'll get to that more in a little bit. So you can see that this blue, if we just even look at this page alone, our sixth note is the A. You've got the diagram right there. Breath marks. It's the word itself is blue, so you can see that very clearly. You notice that little blue triangle, diamond. No, it's not a diamond, it's a triangle, upside down triangle. Is whenever there's something new being introduced, it's by that with one of those blue diamonds, triangles. We discussed that it's a triangle. So you can see it's very clean and clear and easy to see. Rhythms. There are many different rhythm counting systems out there. We use one and two and you can notice here that counting is very important, not only counting of the notes, but check out that second measure, counting of rests. Very often when people are teaching and learning rhythm, they focus on the rhythm itself, but often, at least my students, had more trouble with rests than they did with notes. So it's important for you to understand that the rhythm is clear, the subdivisions are introduced right away, and you notice the gray scale on the rests. So it's a bold print on the counted notes, the played notes, and it's also grayscale when it's on a rest. So they can see that. And again, you can see that the highlighted notes are blue and the important skills or call outs are with those little diamonds. I mean, triangles. I see this is going to probably be an ongoing thing where I call them diamonds and triangles. That's okay. Very important is goals. Having goals and something to achieve with each exercise. Every exercise in book one has a goal line. And sometimes it's reminders. Sometimes it's highlighting something that's in the exercise for students to pay attention to. For example, in this one, play this familiar melody with dynamics. The reminder that the dynamics are there. And also, I love that the second line, it's telling students and teaching students that when a dynamic happens, it carries through until it changes. So going to that second line, they have to track their eyes from that top down to the next one. Hey, the forte marking continues through this. Next is assessment. At each level, there are sound checks. So it's not overburdening with rubrics and too much heavy grading because we want to be careful of that. But there are checks, so there are assessments that are built in so that students are progressing at the correct pace, and to make sure that they're doing the important things, including demonstrating good concert etiquette. That's important. Okay, the organization of the book itself, it goes through 6 levels. And the word level is chosen kind of with a little bit of a video game correlation. So you want to level up, level one, level two. Hey, what level are you on? So that's where leveling comes from. You've got sound beginnings, fundamentals, and the word sound, of course, is a great word for all this. Musicianship, development techniques, and performance. So those are all of the levels. Those pesky oboes and horns. There's so many of them that you're starting. All 14 of your horns and all 17 of your oboes are going to be thrilled to know that they have alternate pages, 8 alternate pages. And here's the important thing to know about the alternate pages. They're not side by side. They're actually in the back of the book. So the 8 pages are in the back of the book. Why, you ask? Good question. The reason is because they found that people with the side, here's your regular standard page on this side, here's your alternate notes on this side. Kids are getting confused with which ones to start with. So they took those pages out, put them in the back. So that way, if you're going to use the alternate pages, everybody flip to this page and you use those alternate pages. So there's 6 pages of the new alternate notes, starting notes, and 2 pages of transition to get them to where everybody else was. I will warn you, the downside of this is that some people don't even realize that those pages are in the back of the book. So make sure that you read through the front matter of your books and check out all the way at the end of your book. Because I've actually had emails from people saying, like, where are the extra oboe pages? There's none included. They're right there. So make sure that you are aware that those are there and that you use them. And it is important to note that the books are the same price, even though there's more pages in them. Performance opportunities for your students. They're throughout the book and they're plentiful. You've got rounds, duets, solos, large ensembles. They're all in there. Uh, and it's also obviously to help teach independence, but not overwhelm them with too much information all at once. So there's a lot of appropriate challenges for them, but a lot of performance opportunities because that's what we want kids to do is experience performance as they're learning their instruments. And other opportunities. How about these? Conducting. I think it's important for kids to not only just physically be able to learn how to conduct, but it also helps them understand what we do as their teachers. Composition, express their voice through composition, finishing the phrases, things like this. They can start the first phrases written out there, a little theme and variation on hot cross buns, cinnamon buns, very cute. They write the ending. Improvisation. This is toward the end of the book. Their improvisation notes, and it's a bit of the blues train. So they get an opportunity for improvisation. But all of these opportunities are really important to have throughout the book. The videos are phenomenal. And even the bulk of my teaching was high school level. And what I would do actually once a year or so, I would have my students watch the videos of the beginning of instruments, putting them together, forming an embouchure, articulating. Why? Because there's a lot of things that they forget and that they just don't remember. And it helped reinforce a lot of those things. And they did a wonderful job on these videos. For me as a teacher, it was really helpful too, because guess what? I also forgot things. So it was really helpful reminders for me as well. They're recorded beautifully. They do a great job explaining things with clarity, and I find them to be really helpful in supporting students' learning. And they're available on SI Online, which we'll talk about more in depth later on. The recordings, the accompaniments, they're instrument-specific recordings for every book, for every line as well. So if you're going to be playing out of the trumpet book, you're going to hear a trumpet player playing every line. Same thing with bass clarinet, flute, they're all there. With SI Online, again, I'll explain a little bit more later on, you will be able to speed them up, slow them down, or loop them. You can have them with the melody, without the melody, and you'll have great recordings of the ensemble pieces too. They're actual live recordings that were used for those. A variety of accompaniment styles were used as well for the background tracks. And of course, tuning notes are there so they can learn how to match pitch. This is an important aspect, not necessarily of the method book itself, but there is a correlated method music series, the Sound Innovations music series. So when you pick your music, if you go on our website and go through and you find that Sound Innovations series, they all include these educational packs, which the composers write. And those are some of the names of the composers that contribute to this series. And you can see what they include. It includes information about the piece. It includes information about the composer, about a form and analysis, not too deep. They're not doing like harmonic analysis, but enough that kids can understand what it is that they're playing. the terminology that are in a piece, melodies written for everyone in unison, scales that are written for that are in the piece, and rhythms that are in the piece, and also composition exercises as well. So those are included with every Sound Innovations performance piece. So you're going to want to check those out because I don't know if you shop by series, but seek these ones out because they're really very valuable. And these you're allowed to copy for your whole band. So you make a copy of it, pass it out, work through the ed pack, and then start rehearsing the piece. Okay, percussion is another really important aspect of method books, and this has gotten so much positive feedback from percussion specialists because it was written by Dave Black. Dave Black was our author of Alfred's drum method and world-renowned percussionist and educator, and he took great care going through this book, checking the pacing, making sure that the explanations are clear, and making sure that everybody has a good opportunity to understand not just snare drum, bass drum, mallets, but also accessories. So there's two books. There's the snare drum, bass drum accessories book. There's the mallet percussion book, and then there's a combined percussion book. Now I mentioned about side by side pages before with the oboe. The combined book is side by side. So side by side over here would be your snare drum, bass drum accessories. This side would be the mallet, correlated mallet one. So they kind of can work through both. So it's important to know those differences there as well. Throughout the book, the teacher's score, there is sound advice. So these are tips, tricks, ideas, reminders. I love how these work on just even right. Some of them are even like remind your students not to chew gum while playing their instrument, but pushing out the third slide if you're a trumpet player when you're playing the note D or C sharp. All these different tips and tricks are really their sound advice. Great reminders for the kids, great reminders for us as teachers. Okay, let's talk a little bit about SI Online. This is the website you go to, sionline.alfred.com. Look at that modern iPhone. I think that's an iPhone 3. I think we have to update the look of that iPhone. However, yeah, I mean, who has a home button anymore? Not me, that's for sure. All of the materials, all of the resource materials are on SI Online. There's no longer 50 CDs you're dealing with or DVDs. If I'm going to watch a DVD, I have to go out into my 2016 Honda Odyssey to watch a DVD in there. I couldn't even tell you how I can listen to a CD. Everything is now online, easy to access, and I'm going to show you how to access that in just a minute. Included in SI Online are enrichment pages. And when I say enrichment pages, I'll explain what they are, but there's theory pages, there's extra practice pages, there's a ton of extra content that's there. And the whole point of that is it helps you with the pacing. If you've got a student that's going really fast and they just need more content to keep them working and learning, you can print out extra pages for them. Conversely, if you have a student that's struggling and they need some extra practice, you can print out some stuff for them as well. The theory pages, the history pages, it's just added content so you can control the pace of your class. So here's how it works. It's actually really pretty easy. You're going to go to this website, sionline.alfred.com, and you enter the product number. Well, the students will enter the product number on the back of the book. If they flip the back of the book over, there's a a five number code that they enter there. That's it. They don't put in an email address. They don't put in their name. They don't put any data information at all. It's the product that's on the book, the code. So if I'm a clarinet player, they're going to see the clarinet content. You, as the teacher, are going to want to put in the score code, the teacher's score code. And that score code is going to give you access to all of the videos for all of the instruments for all of the books. And it's really very, very handy and helpful to have. But it's very important that it's important for people to know that there's no data collection here. This is purely to help support the students in their learning. And it's mobile friendly. Okay. I already said some of this, and I'm going to go quick. So if I repeat myself, I'm sorry. The audio and video is there. And people ask about having an app for SI Online. And we learned that you don't have to have necessarily an app. It works on your phone just fine. And clearly it works for a long time now on this phone. You can just add a bookmark to your homepage. And I know you can do this on both Androids and iPhones. So you just bookmark that website and it'll put on your phone that. And then if you tap on that, it'll open it up. Very easy to do. I know this is a band conversation we're having, and I'm showing a violinist, but I think we can kind of get the idea. I just didn't feel like swapping out this video screenshot, but you can see the clarity of it. And the idea of this is just show you kind of how it works a little bit. You activate the product, you get into the product, and then you can see there are various technique exercises. Again, we have band ones as well. You have speed up, slow down. You can loop sections if you want. If you want them to practice it 5 times in a row, they can set the loop. Check out the theory pages. I love the artwork on these. I think it's important to understand how visually appealing these pages are. Remember, we took the clutter out of the book. So that uncluttered feel also goes to the enrichment pages as well. They're really clean looking. The artwork is very it's not super colorful. And again, there's the blue circle of fifths, but they look really terrific. So you've got scale and techniques, you've got additional tunes, history, theory, composition, improvisation, additional duets and solos. There are also additional full band pieces that are in there as well. Okay, so the idea of this too is, let's say you get to line 61 and you want to have some alternate tunes for line 61. You can print out some alternate tunes. There are, I think, 12 places throughout the book where the alternate tunes appear, but don't quote me on that. There may be 10, but it's around 10 to 12. So you can see an example of what that looks like. Here's an alternate tune for line 101, 101A. It's the same skills that are in exercise 101, just different music. So there's an opportunity for students to practice more, reinforce those skills. Sound rhythms, innovative techniques, and here's what a couple of the theory pages look like. Again, very clean, matching that same look and style, which I think is important for students to recognize. Beautiful looking. We look at it as teachers, but it's important for students to see what they're getting is very high quality. There are additional assessments if you want to give them a little bit of a quiz on some more of the terms and things that we deal with in music all the time. You can have that, print that out, check right in your notes, clapping the rhythms and so on. And you can see the ensembles, duets, finger twisters. And now, again, I already mentioned that this is available in Make Music Cloud for free. So get in there and have your students practicing with the accompaniments, with the assessment as well. And you can control the assessment. I know there's other presentations on how Make Music Cloud works, but it doesn't have to all be grade level, like grading. You can do it without a grade. They can do it with a grade. You can change the tolerance of how much it's grading. But really what you want is students playing and practicing. And now that we can do it in here in a great platform. And specifically for Sound Innovations, there is this awesome game-changing aspect called Sound Innovations Extras. This is skills that are correlated to book one. So let's say the first 3 notes. 3Z does it. Those are the first 3 notes. You can play along in the book and play along with the backing track in the book, or you can also go into Make Music Cloud, because this part is with a subscription, I have to say. The Sound Innovations Extra is beyond the book one. This is an extra paywall. But when they go into this, they actually play with these backgrounds from movies, superhero movies, and it sounds amazing. Kids love it. So it's the same 3 notes. It's only those 3Z does it notes, and it links right from Make Music Cloud. You practice 3Z does it, then you click the link, and it brings you to the SI extras. I'm going to play you an example of that right now. You get the idea that it plays, that background is powerful. Kids love it. And the feedback from students and directors has been the words game changing. So check that out. All right, let's move on to book two. Book two is obviously following book one, but it's designed a little bit differently than book one. What they did here was to be careful to be aware of how much students can learn all at once. So when you learn, let me see if it's on the next slide, just so I don't review what I'm going to say again. Okay, what they did here was they did not layer on a new note, a new rhythm, a time signature, and a key signature all on top of each other. When they introduce a new note, it's with an old rhythm. When they introduce a new rhythm, it's with an old note. So that way we're not piling on too much for them to understand at once. And now the kids are not going to be aware of this, but if I'm playing that A that we learned earlier, That's not a new note to me. I don't have to think about that. But I'm playing that A with a new rhythm so that they can be aware of their cognitive plate. It's really important to know that. And it's great. This is a great way of thinking through how to build this book. And this book now is a little bit different in the way it's constructed, as it's not as sequential as book one. Book one, you start with number one and you work your way through. Book two is a little bit more by concept, so you can jump around in the book and kind of approach to what you're doing in your literature. We're going to work on the cut time piece today. Go to the cut time section and practice some of that stuff. This piece uses 16th notes. Let's go to the 16th note section. This is going to be in 6/8. Let's do some of the 6/8 work. So you go by concept, not quite as sequential. So that's important to understand. The first third of the book, by the way, is a review of everything in book one. So when the kids come back from summer, let's say, and they need some refreshers and reminders, you've got plenty of reinforcement of book one that's there. There are instrument family specific recordings. Instrument family, yeah. So instrument families, woodwinds together, brass together, percussion together. It's more ensemble, and there's also ensemble information on some of those videos about how to play as a group. I'm not going to read every one of these for you. You're welcome for that. But you can see that there are a lot of content. There's a lot of content, a lot of skills. One of the things, here's a quick tip for you. One of the things that I love are the skill charts that are in the front of the teacher score and the sequence, the scope and sequence of the skills that are introduced. If you look through that, you're going to get a snapshot of all the things that your kids are going to learn working through the book. I find that to be very helpful and I reference it often. So make sure that you take a look at that. All right, moving on to the ensemble development series. So you notice that we don't have a book three in Sound Innovations. The reality is, a lot of people use book threes. They do book one, they get to book two, and then they use their band music. Well, people still need to use method books. I think that resources are really important. So we ask teachers, what kind of resources do you want? They want warm-up exercises. They want chorales. They want technique exercises. They want ensemble development. That's what they want. And that is what we've provided. There are three levels available. So this is where you would decide which book is going to be for your group. I'll explain those levels really quickly. The green level is intermediate. So that is about grade 2 to grade 3. So it's about 25% grade 2, 50% grade 3, and a little bit grade 4. So it's every group, it could be your ninth grade through your 12th grade, depending on your band, and anywhere in between. So that's the intermediate level book. Somebody called it the Swiss Army knife of ensemble books. Then the purple book, that's your advanced book. That's your wind ensemble book. That is, grade 3, grade 4, grade 5, all upper level stuff, which means that the scale exercises are 16th notes and have higher octaves and things like that. Includes all the keys. Green does not include all the keys. It includes most keys that you're going to see at the intermediate level. We produced those books, and so many teachers had asked Peter and I co-authored these. So many teachers had asked us, do you have this at an elementary level? And we didn't. And we went back to Alfred. I didn't work for Alfred at the time. I was teaching. And we said, hey, listen, a lot of teachers are asking for this. Can we produce this? And they said yes. That is the gold book. The gold book is a side-by-side book to your blue book. So the blue book is how do you learn as an individual? How do you practice? How do you put the instrument together? How do you make your individual notes and continue to work? You do play as a group. The gold book, though, is when you sit down as a band and you're playing now as an ensemble. Everything changes. All the exercises are geared toward listening, balance, blend, intonation, long tones, learning how to play alongside of other students. And you can see here on the slide, there's 167 exercises, and there are a ton of chorales. And you can see the chorale writers that contributed to this book. Phenomenal writers. They're short. They're meant to take 10 minutes of your rehearsal, maybe 10 minutes, to get the kids warmed up and really focus on the isolated ensemble development skills, which I'll go over a little bit soon. All these books follow the same concept. It's a spiral curriculum. If you use that gold book, they already know the kinds of exercises to expect in the green book. Different chorales, some different chorale writers, and a higher level of expectation and difficulty and challenges with what they're doing. And I'll go through some of these quickly. Actually, I'm going to skip some of this just to give you an idea. You've got the scales in there, major, minor, and chromatic. There's a chromatic scale for each of the keys that was represented. There's phrasing exercises, dynamics exercises. We basically isolated all the skills that you need to play as an ensemble. arpeggios, intervals, harmonic progressions, getting their ears acclimated to playing as a group. Those are the keys included. Now here we are with the purple level, 399. I'm sorry, I couldn't fit one more exercise in there to make it 400, but 399 sounds pretty good. Ton of exercises, beautiful chorales. I have heard from multiple directors that have used chorales from all three books in a concert and have called them a chorale suite, which is pretty amazing. So here are the skills that we isolated from the books. Breathing, not talking about breathing. You have to breathe or you die, as Peter says. Talking about breathing, do you want to do a quick full breath, a deep full breath, a metered breath, all that, long tones. Passing the tonic is passing the tonic note around the room, not just F. How about B flat? How about E flat? How about F? How about D? All the notes, all the kinds of exercises. And I want to encourage you to look through that front matter. Remember, there'll be a quiz at the end. I mentioned looking at the front of the book and the back of the book. Because look, this is where the instructions are. In the fronts of the books, this is where you understand, you get information about how do these exercises work. And we made them really clear. These are ones that are in the young level book. People love the scale chorales and they love scale canons where they start at different times. And again, here's just a quick look at all those chorale writers. Here's how it looks in a classroom. You put the numbers up on the board. This is how I used it. Or I have students practice an exercise, number one, while I walk around or maybe take attendance, give some kids some quick tips. And then we're going to practice number 5, 7, 15, 23, 34. And then we're going to go into our literature. All the exercises are related to the literature because they're going to be in the key that we're working on. If we're playing in a piece of E flat today, that's where I'm going to draw my warm-up exercises from. This is what that individual skill looks like. Obviously, this is from the purple book. And this is what it looks like as your whole warm-up for that portion of the class. The long tone exercise, the scale exercise, a chromatic flexibility, a moving chord tones where we build a triad and then we rotate it. We change the inversions, which is a great listening skill. And then a major scale and chorale. That's an A-B exercise. Anybody can play the scale. Anybody can play the chorale. So tubas play the A line. Everyone else play the B line. Second trumpet, second clarinet, third oboe. I mean second oboe. I mean first oboe. Play the A line. Everybody else play the B line. And they sound beautiful. And then there is the question of what about these guys in the back? That is actually the percussion section before I left teaching. And I will point out, I like to point out the kid in the red shirt on the left there with his face in the slapstick. He was following the directions. Somebody had written in there, put face here. So he was actually listening and following directions. But what about percussion? They should not be back there just getting ready for the first piece of music. They're involved in every exercise in the book. So every warm-up exercise, every chorale, percussion is part of it. So they didn't sign up to band to get ready for the first piece. They signed up to be in band for the same reason that everybody else did, to be involved and not to be kept busy, but to be involved. Okay, scale chorales I already mentioned. Okay, next, sound percussion. This is your all-in-one percussion method. These books are methods by themselves and work in any combination with one another up to a full percussion ensemble. I co-authored this with Dave Black. Remember I talked about Dave before? There will be a quiz. Dave and I wrote this, and we made sure that everything that is in Alfred's drum method is in this book and more. So this is your standalone snare drum, bass drum book and mallet book. Typically, what we tell people to do is to get all the students the snare drum, bass drum book and the mallet book. Those are their personal copies. That's where they're going to learn. And then keep a classroom set of the accessory book and the timpani book, and obviously the teacher score. Another quick tip for you that I used for planning my lessons from this book, I found it easier to plan my lessons from the mallet book and the snare drum book rather than from the score. It was just easier for me to do that. And then I used the score when I was conducting the lessons. But for planning purposes, I found it easier to go from the individual books. But this has everything that they need. We did use sound rhythm. So this is a book that you can go from section to section as well. If you want to work on rolls, you can go through to the roll section. So it's not sequential from beginning to the end of the book, but each section is sequential. So sound rhythm starts with the very beginning rhythms, and it progresses to the intermediate level pretty quickly. But we have to start at the beginning. So you'll start with quarter notes and you work through. Sound meter, we go through various meters. Sound rudiments, we cover tons of rudiments. Sound rolls, sound effects, fun part. And then it ends with 2 sound performance pieces. So they're all logical. That when you see the flow of the book, it makes a lot of sense. And this is geared toward either a percussion specialist. We've gotten great feedback from percussion specialists that we've covered a lot. And we've heard from non-specialists. This is especially for you non-specialists that are in front of a percussion section. This information will help you feel confident. And I don't know if I mentioned it later on, but the videos for this, there are a ton of videos demonstrating the skills that you may not be comfortable performing. However, I would encourage you as a teacher, practice those skills. I guarantee that you can play a drum roll if you do it as in this book. You'll be able to do both an open roll and you'll be able to do a closed roll. Follow it. Okay. I mean, follow the videos along, then you'll get that help. So here's how this works. Sound concepts, everyone is in unison with whatever the concept is. In this case, we're looking at eighth notes, blah, blah, blah. Notice everyone is in unison. There are no dynamics. There are no articulations. That's it. Everyone plays in unison. When we get to sound reinforcements, notice they're all in unison. However, now we have dynamics and we also have accents written. So that is the next level. And then when they're really more confident with those skills, we have sound combinations. And in sound combinations, they're no longer in unison, and now they are performing independently. And you can see the icon there, the audio and the video. We recorded a number of the sound combination exercises. Some of them we recorded in a quad screen with all the parts playing, and some of them we recorded just the timpani part and mallet part. I think that's correct. I have to check myself on that. But we have the student fills in on the snare drum part. Yeah, I think that's correct. Timpani and mouths. And then the student fills in on the snare drum part. So it's like a music minus one part where they become part of the ensemble. Pretty awesome to be able to do that. We have information in here for the teacher, okay, about changing the drum heads, what needs to be replaced, a ton of information, and a lot of stuff for the more strategies about keeping your students involved. And also everything else is for the students here. You see finger dampening and how about letting things ring. And it's really important to understand about the mallet book here. The mallet book follows people, kids are, I don't know if your kids were like mine, they were scared of the mallet instruments. The feedback I've heard from teachers on this is that students that use this book love playing mallets. And it's because we didn't overwhelm them with it. They start, again, they start in unison. This is part I would do this book, the first 12 pages before doing any of the other books. Have the students do it sequentially from number one all the way through number 12 through page 12. What we do is notice we only introduce F and G in the beginning, only F and G. Why F? It's easy to find on the mallet instrument, and it's a band key. F's and G's, they can play F's and G's all day long. They're not getting confused. Then we add A, F, G, A, do a bunch of exercises with F, G, A. Then we add B flat, F, G, A, B flat. Not too much. Then we're going to add one more note, F, G, A, B flat, C. They stay with F, G, A, B flat, C for a while. Get those first five notes. Then we add D, and then we add E, and then we show them the F major scale. So they don't get overwhelmed with like, hey, here's the key, here's the scale, play a bunch of exercises. They learn it bit by bit and build up to it. And then once you're done with the key of F, you go to D minor and you're only learning one or two notes. Then you go to B flat, you're only learning one note. So it goes on and it really builds on that prior knowledge without overwhelming the students. It's called actually backwards by design. It was a curriculum approach where you start with the end goal and you build your lessons to lead to that goal. That's how we designed the mallet percussion book, and it's been highly successful. I really like the way the graphics are there. The concepts are clear, and hopefully everybody understands it. There's some fun stuff in here, some fun facts, so people can learn about some well-known players and other things, and of course our sound advice. And we did not put stickings throughout the entire book because stickings, as you may or may not know, depends on the musicality, what the music is, what the tempo is, but we kind of give those concepts throughout. All right, I'm going to kind of fast forward here. I mentioned about learning to do the rolls. You can do it. I want you to report back to me and do it. Here's the SI online for that. You can see where the quad screen is, and we focus both on their hands and also we scale back so you can see them as their bodies as they're playing. So that is sound percussion. Next up is sound performance. This is a brand new book, and I do have the string one on here as well, just so you can see it. This is solos, duets, and trios, all at the grade 1 to 2 level. It can be solo plus piano. Any of them could be with piano, but it's a solo basically to develop individual playing. It could be used as a duet and as a trio. There are A, B, and C parts. And there are 43 arrangements in here. I'll go through a little bit about what they are. Oh, nice graphic. There are, as you can see, many folk songs trying to span a fair amount of the world as we can to try to have some great representation here and also having a variety of styles. And they're really great, great tunes. So a great variety of folk songs, classical themes that your students may be familiar with. And if they're not, they should be. They'll be very happy to know these. And then holiday songs. We've got Halloween, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Hanukkah. And then we end with a couple of patriotic songs. The idea of this book, I'm going to change this because it's that gift can really get to you after a while. Uh, the idea of this is that I want you to be able to use this book for a couple of years. This could be for your elementary students, could be for your middle school students. Let's say, it follows the school year. You want to add a couple of solos with piano for the holiday concert. If you do a holiday concert, you've got it there. If you do an October concert, you want to do a Halloween piece, you can do that. You want to do it as a duet or a trio, you can do that. If you're going to play something at a school assembly or for the morning announcements, it kind of follows a little bit of the school year, and you can use it for multiple years. They're fun, they're easy, they're not meant to overwhelm students. They are meant to build their confidence and to engage in enjoyment with music. So just to give you a look at what they look like, this is important, even though I'm focused on band. You should know that the band versions and the string versions are not compatible because they don't start in the same keys, and that would probably sound pretty awful. But you can see that they're there. In the teacher book, you can see that we included the wind ranges so that you can see what they are. And this is what the teacher score looks like. There's an easy piano part, and I was advised by friends of mine that even though they're easy piano parts, put in the chords, so that even a teacher that's a novice with piano can just at least play the chords along with the students that are playing if they want to. And this is what percussion looks like. Remember, it's kind of a personal thing for me that percussion is involved with everything. So there's their trio as well. It includes a couple of rounds, and they sound awesome. We recorded all of these with demonstration groups, and these are phenomenal players, professional players. We recorded, they're flexible. You can use any combination of any instruments, any brass instrument with woodwinds, any of them can mix together. Three trumpets, a flute, a trumpet, and a trombone, it doesn't matter. Uh, but I recorded with groups. So there's a woodwind group, a brass group, and a string group so that the kids can hear them. Those are all in SI Online. You access this the same way that you did earlier with book one. Flip the book over, put in that 5-digit code, and you will access these recordings. And you can see you can play along with the recording. You can play along with piano, so the solo instrument, play with the piano. You can play it as part of the trio minus the A line. So now you are filling the role of the A player in the trio, and so on. We have all these great ways that kids can practice and make it fun. All right, on to the next book. Too often, students progress from their band methods, and only learn through their band music. Introducing the missing link between methods and conservatory methods, meaning going from your method or your music into the Arban book or the Closet book is a big, big jump. So here's the link to help get them there. Sound artistry. This is meant for individual lessons and for individual growth to develop intermediate musicians to become more proficient as individual players. You can see that we have them for all the instruments. And not only did we write these books with specific instruments in mind, we had phenomenal collaborators work with us on these books to ensure not only that it pedagogically was sound, but that we were including their favorite exercises to focus on some of those pedagogical concepts. Oh, I have a little example for you here. So that is to show you that in Make Music Cloud, there's an accompaniment for every exercise, every etude. You can turn off the click. I do think it's cute how the clicks lined up with the instruments coming in at the end. But it's a really different experience practicing with the piano accompaniments. People are loving these books. These are laid out by lessons. Now, does a lesson weekly? I don't know. It depends on your students. But there are 22 lessons, and you can assign these for your students as you work through it at the pace that they are through it. You can see that there are logical flow to them. You've got long tones, you've got flexibility, scales, you've got arpeggios, you've got etudes, and there are duets, and all at a variety of styles. The whole book is at the intermediate level. There are instrument-specific exercises. You can see two of them here. The top one is from the flute book, the flute harmonic exercise, and the bottom one is the pinky drill, the dreaded pinky drill for clarinets. That one you do in small chunks. We work on trills and ornaments, grace notes, the turn, stopped horn. we've got stop torn exercises, and it's explained in a really great way. Margaret did a wonderful job helping us with stop torn. This against the grain exercise is a trombone exercise, where as the slide goes out, the notes go up, or as the slide comes in, the notes go down. It's definitely a different way of practicing. Double tonguing and triple tonguing on instruments that produce those techniques. Um, I had a demonstration of those once. So anyway, this you can see that about this is about the difficulty level. It is a grade 3.5 level, and feedback again has been really terrific. Check those ones out. Next up is sound sight reading. Sound sight reading is not a it's not just a book of exercises to play. The whole concept of sound sight reading is strategies to sight read. Understanding like some skills that will help you be more successful with sight reading. Yes, it is filled with a ton of content and lots of exercises to practice and read, but really it's meant to help you decode the music so that when you approach a new piece, you can recognize some of the things that you've practiced. For example, patterns, recognizing patterns, a sequence. So dum ba da dum, bum ba da dum, bum ba da dum. If you recognize a pattern, that can help you have success in reading. Getting your scales, the musical examples, rhythm grids are very cool. They're set up with rhythms, and you can work your way across, work your way down, and just getting comfortable with all the different rhythm patterns. A lot of A-B exercises, so teachers can use them, very similar to the scale chorales in the ensemble development books, except not as scale chorales, but A and B, giving teachers a choice. Play the A line, play the B line, whoever you want to play them both. Everybody play A, everybody play B, everybody play a combination of A and B. So it's basically three exercises in one. I mentioned about reading the front part of the book and the back of the book. This book in particular has a ton of information for the teacher. It's really a fantastic resource to read through and to understand. And you can use this with Make Music Cloud, because there is a sight reading tool in Make Music Cloud that is phenomenal and really can help reinforce those skills as well. So there it is. Kids can do anything. We just have to teach them how. And Sound Innovations is here to try to help make that easier for you. One of the things that's important with SI is we're not telling you how to teach. One of our missions is to give you resources so that you can teach as you see fit, as you need to with the students that are in front of you. And you can look at all these covers and all these colors, and you could tell we're not done yet. We'd love to hear from teachers. If there's things that we're missing, things that you need addressed in your world that we can help with, we want to hear from you, because our teachers come from our teachers come from products. Our products come from teachers for teachers. And we believe that if they're important to be used in your room, you're going to want to buy them. So it's mutually beneficial. So please let us know if there's something that you need, or if there's anything that we can help with. I hope that this quick 48-minute overview didn't feel like 48 minutes. And I hope that you found some helpful information here as I talk you through this curriculum. And if you ever have any questions, please feel free to reach me at cbernotas@alfred.com. I'm not going to tell you how to spell my name. You'll have to do a little bit of research. Thank you for sitting through this with me. Thanks.